Back in the 2000s, there were so many Metallica fakes in the internet. Whenever a song that sounded vaguely like Metallica came up by some obscure band, people immediately labeled it "That's Lars and Company." But there's one that stood out. It didn't just sound similar to Metallica. Most of the people said there's no way it's not Metallica. I'm talking about Apocalypse Dawn, the most famous and mysterious Metallica fake. Hi friends, it's Andriy Vasilenko and welcome to Metallic Geek, where we are over-analyzing our favorite band. Apocalypse Dawn was a 4-minute instrumental composition which appeared on the internet in the early 2000s. And because that was still the Wild West period of the internet, nobody could prove or disprove that's Metallica or not Metallica. It did not have Jameson's vocals to say it for sure, and the quality was quite low because people used to compress the shit out of tracks to the internet. And that also was a period in Metallica history that kinda fell off. Fans did not know what was happening with the band. Jason used to live in rehab, same 10 gear and stuff, and would the band survive at all? So all of that combined made people believe Apocalypse Dawn could have been a demo by Metallica from 2002, maybe with Jason, something that could have been on or instead Saint 10 gear. But why would someone imitate the band so closely without afterwards becoming famous on the hype? All we knew for all these 20 years is that it's written by guy Steve Oathworth for Total Guitar Magazine in 2002. And I found that very issue of Total Guitar Magazine with the transcription and breakdown of Apocalypse Dawn. You can download it on our Telegram community, link in description. Thanks Alex, whatever you can find in Russian internet for free and get away with it. In the essence, Apocalypse Dawn is Metallica in its prime, compressed in 4 minutes. And it comprises 4 essential Metallica sounds. First, the ballads. The intro is basically Fade to Black, 1 and Centarium merged. And then it turns straight up from the TOOOLL interlude. Which gradually turns into Nothing Else Matters and ends like Sanitarium. I cannot imagine of a better example of the Metallica ballads compressed in 1 minute. That's genius. Then goes the second essential Metallica sound. The medium tempo chuck with 8 notes, kinda Enter Sandman. Then the tempo jumps drastically and we hear the trashy Metallica, a la Battery. And then goes what I call the slow heavy Metallica, kinda Harvester sort of Sad But True or Master of Puppets, where they go extra dragon. The riffs really delivered the Metallica sound, but what was actually spot on was the Kirk solos. I would never tell that's not his job. And also some harmony, Metallica cannot be without it. And so basically, this track gives a blueprint how to sound like the band. Don't you think that this guy, Steve, should get more credit for having done such a great work? So wherever you are, Steve, from all the Metallica fan community, thank you for the service.
Yeah, hi. I don't know what to say. Yeah, I never expected that this was some kind of infamous, no one knew it was a Metallica track or not a Metallica track. So yeah, it's been really interesting you getting in touch with me recently and was like, wow, this is a thing I completely forgot I even did it many years ago. So it's like, yeah, it's been a surprise. So it's really nice. So I really appreciate it.
That's a huge honor to me. So please tell us about the backstory of that composition / tutorial.
Man, I mean, it's crazy, right? This is like, it's about 20 years old now, this song, I think. I mean, I was not long out of university, and I got a gig with TOOOLL Guitar magazine. Quite often I was asked to do pastiches of players, partly because copyright is really expensive.
Yeah.
You know, like, so we would do like, I would do a lot of transcriptions of songs, but basically music sales, we look after that. It's really expensive, and it's got more expensive over the years. So to do a Metallica song, in fact, Metallica were one of the hardest bands to do an actual transcription of, just purely because of copyright. We had some trouble with the American copyright. So it was a bit of a nightmare. So it was partly to address this kind of like, okay, well, how do you then play in the style of, without sort of paying like ridiculous, I mean, we're talking thousands of pounds just to do a song. I was currently working, I don't know if you know Jason Sidwell, he's the editor of Guitar Techniques. He asked me to do a pastiche of Metallica, everything pre-Black Album, give readers a chance to learn how to play the best stuff from Kirk and all the riffs, a kind of Frankenstein's mixture of all of my favorite. And I guess Apocalypse Dawn was, you know, they did these songs about the Vietnam War, and I probably just watched Apocalypse Now, you know. So I think that's where it came from, you know. So that was kind of the story, I think, really, with that.
I actually scrolled down some forums from 2003 and 4 where people ask, I found this tune. It sounds like Metallica, but we cannot find it anywhere in the official releases. What is this? And I would say 95% of people on the forums back then, they said, yeah, that sounds like Metallica. It could be Metallica. Almost no one was suspicious. There's something out there. It was circulating in the internet like Apocalypse Dawn, Metallica Demo 2002. The years made it more legendary.
I wish I'd earned as much money as Metallica for that track, you know. It would sound like a demo that maybe Kirk had done in his garage kind of thing. I listened to the track you sent me this afternoon. The drums are really loud.
The drums were the closest to busted. Based on the drum, they could say, no, that's not Metallica. They don't use not real drums. But there was all this mist of mystery. They wanted to believe that's Metallica. Too progressive for Metallica.
Well, this was the tricky thing, because the commission was for one complete piece. But the thing is, you know, how'd you do that? How'd you encompass 15, 20 years of Metallica music in one track?
At that point, 2002, Load and Reload were the latest Metallica albums. And you did not include anything from those albums. Why?
No. I think because they went in a completely different direction. I mean, I remember it coming out in the magazines at the time, and it was like, okay, there's this new sound. But for me, like, man, I grew up with those albums. They were classic, you know, this kind of new wave of heavy metal kind of thing. And it wasn't that I hated it. I know there was a lot of hate for those albums, you know, Instant Anger and all that kind of stuff. But if you're talking about encompassing the sound, if you were to try and distill the Metallica sound, I don't think, arguably, you would probably include those albums.
If you were to make this kind of lesson again, how would you do it now?
I think my inspiration would probably be exactly the same period. I'm sure there are bigger Metallica fans than I am even, you know, like, but if you talk like, if you were to kind of say, what is the Metallica sound? I still think you would be talking about maybe the 3 albums that I've talked about, like the classics, the old stuff, you know, and again, it doesn't diminish the stuff they've done later on.
What, in your opinion, the pillars of Metallica's trademark composing style? How to make it sound like Metallica?
The Gallop is one. New wave of heavy metal Iron Maiden thing, and then it kind of went into the thrash metal thing. The one with the palm mutes, I mean, that's basically it, right? So for me, it's all about the sort of thrash metal sound. It was that sort of sound, right? You know, the minor add 9 thing. So in all the ballads, they've got that minor add 9 thing, right? So that sound, right?
kind of sanitarian chord, let's call it, solos. Should that be treated as songwriting and not arrangement? And be paid for that, actually.
Of course. I mean, it's songwriting, right? It depends on the band. And I don't know how Metallica ever worked this out, but any band that I've ever been in or I've written with other people, it's like, okay, if we're all working on the same thing, it's the same split between everyone, between the drummer, between the bassist, the keyboard player, the singer, whatever. I think it's the fairest way to avoid any kind of fights about things, because it happens all the time. This is the thing, But totally, with solos, man, some of the solos are iconic, and I think, like, for me, like, technically it was the Black Album where he was technically the most adept at what he was doing, and it was recorded probably the best.
But still, even in the songs featuring iconic Kirk solos, but if he did not contribute riffs, he does not get royalties for that, unfortunately. But
is that true, though? Is that actually true? He doesn't get royalties?
Ride the Lightning, the song. It features one of the most blasting and challenging lead works of Kirk Hammett. But he does not get money from that because he did not contribute riffs.
Man, that just seems a bit mean.
But he got some riffs too.
Kirk Hammett's done quite well out of this. I'm not going to get I don't feel too sad for him.
What do you think of riffs? How are riffs important in music, in rock and metal specifically?
Well, this is probably where this argument comes from, right? Because the riff arguably is more important. Like, in fact, it is. Like you think of all the best, like I'm talking about hard rock, metal, it's all about the riff. All the iconic songs you can think of, Van Halen, Ozzy Osbourne, Led Zeppelin. You think of all of those songs and it's the riff that you think of probably first before the guitar solo. Although me as a guitar player, what draws my attention is the guitar solo. That's really exciting to me. But the thing that most people, musically gravitate towards is the riff, for sure.
There was a period in the early 2000s where solos were gone in the metal music. Nobody played solos, but the riffs, there will always be the pillar of metal and rock.
Well, you can usually sing a good riff, right? Whereas you can't. Okay, listen, Yngwie Malmsteen said he could sing some of his guitar solos, but most guitar solos are difficult to sing, right? This is why most people find them a bit more difficult. So,
no wonder James Hetfield got on his knuckles riff life. That's all he is.
Yeah. What a great rhythm player, man.
Composer, everything. Frontman and singer. He is everything. He is the Metallica. Even though Lars Ulrich owns Metallica technically, he's the boss. But James is James.
For me, it's all about James Hetfield. If he wasn't there, if didn't have the rhythm guitar there and the riffs, it wouldn't be what it is.
And Metallica still are going to kick ass, and hopefully in the future we have some concerts.
We can go to see live music again. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Let's hope it's gonna be sorted out soon.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
My goal is to eventually maybe ask them all these questions themselves to interview Metallica. If you had this opportunity to ask Metallica, some member or the band in general, one question, what the question would be?
I'd play them my tune and say, do you remember writing this? Man, if I could ask them one question, man, when they were 20, 21 years old, could they have ever imagined where this music would take you? Would you do exactly the same things? Would you make the same mistakes? Would you change anything? Yeah.
And by the way, have you heard of this What If Metallica? What if Blackened was on the Black Album or Full Battles was on Just for All? In the YouTube, there is this movement, alternate Metallica songs.
No, I haven't. No.
Kind of what you did, but you were it was 20 years ago, kind of grandfather of that movement. What if? How to sound like Metallica, to learn from that.
I'll check it out, yeah, for sure.
Maybe I'll send some links to young guys, they're amazing.
If there's a part 2, I'll let you know.
Thank you, Steve. Have a nice day, week, month, and year. Hope you stay safe and sane there in this isolation, and we'll pull through, and music will survive too.
Nice to speak to you. Pleasure.
Thank you, Steve, again. More Metallica episodes that I don't release here in the video form, go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow me there, because that's the way to keep the show going. Thanks for listening. It's Andriy Vasilenko, and hear you next time, friends.